One. And yes, we are live. Yes, sir. Everybody, this is your brother Shakim. Y'all know me. I am with a very distinguished brother right here. One who's widely known in the community, one who's always had his boots on the ground, a homegrown homeboy from the city, one who's very experienced in law enforcement. We're going to pick his brain today and talk about community policing. We're going to talk about a lot of the political climate now out here, how he sees everything, how he sees us moving forward into the future. We're going to talk about some of being able to help get black law enforcement officers and the community. We want to talk about all of that because right now, I think with the state of the country that we're in right now, it's very important that these conversations are needed because all of us want safe communities. So in order for us to, advocate for safe communities, we have to talk to the people who are at the forefront, who are here, who are, on the ground. So introducing none other than Chief Reggie Burgess, brother. How you
How you
doing?
doing, man? Hey, Shakim, hey, what can I say, man? You always out there. You out there a whole lot more than I am.
No.
Doing your thing, man. I mean, you come from good stock. I mean, you know how your mom is with me, man. I mean, that lady,
Right.
she calls me, I'm coming. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
sir.
So I my mom the same way. I knew you do the same for her. So listen, man, we know what we need to do. We know what we need to do, man.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
sir. So kind of introduce yourself to the people, man. We got a lot of viewers coming on. Talk to yourself, introduce yourself to the people and kind of tell them what you do.
Okay, well, I'm Chief Reggie Burgess, North Charleston Police Department Chief of Police, and basically, my job as the Chief of Police is to make sure I lead and guide our whole police department in the way that it should go. And the number one way that we should go is to be the best service that we can to the number one customer that is the community. And of course, I have to regulate the budget. I have to keep an eye on the hiring process. I have to keep an eye on the training. I have to keep an eye on all the things in the entire department, not to mention all the sworn people. I have 100 plus civilians as well. So I probably have either the second or third largest police agency in the state. We
Hmm.
have the third largest city in the state. And the thing about my situation is being the number one law enforcement leader in the city of North Charleston is unlike some other areas. North Charleston probably is the most heaviest populated African American city in the state, and
Right.
and so you got a very diverse. You got some places in North Charleston that is nothing but African Americans. Then you got a mixture of white and African Americans. You got a bigger population of Hispanic Americans. Then you have a little small pocket of Asians, and then you have a mixture of everything. So North Charleston is totally diverse, different cultures, different state of minds. But I love what I do, man. I love what I do.
Right. So one of the things we want to talk about is police relations. We've seen today. It looks like in Atlanta, they're having an issue. They had officers walk off the job, so they say morale issues. How do you, as a leader, see this climate that we're in, and what's your vision? Like, if like from an administrative standpoint, how do you help build officer morale and keep things going at a time where it seems like everybody wants to defund the police and all it like how do you see where do you see this going? What's your solution?
Well, Shakim, you know how we go at North Charleston. We don't, you know me, I don't run for nothing.
Right.
I deal with it, even if it's something that, is going to make us look bad. We have to deal with that because we all make mistakes. And when we
Right.
make mistakes, we admit it and then we fix it and then we keep going. So with the issue that how I deal with it is I look at it realistically. I've
Okay.
experienced in the 31 years of law enforcement these type issues. I remembered going back when we had the Asbury Wilder shooting. We
Right.
had we had the other young guy that's from my neighborhood, the hike. I can't remember his name right now. He was shot on Dorchester Road. Then I experienced before that the Rodney King. I was at a restaurant eating when the Rodney King situation broke off, and then I was on the streets when they acquitted the four officers. So we had to make adjustments to those things, and then of course the senseless, horrible act that former Officer Slager did when Walter Scott. I experienced that. So what I do most importantly Shakim, as I know that I got to speak to our men and women every day.
Right.
So like at 9:45, I'm going to the bureaus and I'm going to talk to them tonight. And what I did maybe almost 2 weeks ago, I called in all of upper level supervisors from sergeants to assistant chiefs. We had about over 100 something people in there. Those are the leaders in the police department. So we went to the Coliseum, we social distanced, and we started talking about the issues that we were hearing from our officers on the streets. What are the things that are making them upset, or what are the things that's making them kind of apprehensive that they don't want to, get involved with stuff? Because we need to talk about it, and then we need to come to an agreement how we apply, understanding to them, because you got to give them understanding. So that's one of the ways that I do it, as I get out and talk to our officers all the time, and I have the supervisors thinking as one, because you can't have a supervisor thinking, well, hey man, we're getting tired of it, and then you have a supervisor saying, no, we have to weather the storm, because people get upset.
Right.
People want changes. So if you have one thinking negative, one thinking positive, and nobody's trying to get in the middle and work these things out, then you're going to allow that stuff to fester, and it never is going to get good. It's going to be worse than anything. So that's the things that I do. And then most of all, we're looking at any policy or procedure. Like one of the things that came before us was, do we have in our policy that when you see something, you're supposed to act? Well, we have in our policy, but there's one word that's a general word that would really say to an officer, no, when you see it, either you need to be involved to make sure it doesn't happen, or you need to report it. So what we did, we placed that in our policy. We put it out to everybody, and then we went over everything with them and say, this is how the policy is read. Then we look at, tasers, and we look at, just mere conversation. Anything that we get from the public or from any agency that's going to help us be better servants, then we'll look at it. We vet it as a unit, and we do it that day. We don't wait till next week. I want something done that day, and we get on it, and we put it, and we make it, we make it work. But we're not walking away, and we're not saying, oh well, we'll get to it later on. It's important for us to make sure that what we do in this agency is all about, treating all people fair at all times, not just once in a while, not just with the Coliseum when we see them wave at them, not just when they come into high school graduations. We need to treat people fair all the time. And so what I do, as you asked me, I lead from the front. If I'm out there doing those things and talking to those supervisors and those officers, I expect my supervisors to do the same thing.
Right. Okay. So one of the things that you did that really impressed me when you first, became the chief is when we were out there with, because everybody tells me, oh, what about black on black crime? What about black on black crime? You've been there on many occasions, walking with us, trying to say, hey,
Yes.
help out. If you see something, say something like let's try to end this crime within our communities. You actually hit the ground walking with us. And I thought it was a good thing. I've never seen it before. But there were certain people who were maybe like, I don't want to call them the haters, but in my opinion, they're haters. So I don't know.
Right.
How do you view that whole situation?
Well, like you said, Shakim, you have been doing that for a long period of time. And I remember when I saw you a couple of neighborhoods, I think it was Northwoods, and you took some kids to the I think it was a convenience store. And I
Right.
remember I got the call from the lady, and she was like, oh, they're protesting against the shop. And I was like, so when we found out, I was like, no. And you went to her and explained to her what was going on.
Right.
And I said, see, that's a perception that people get. Protest is not a negative thing when it's nonviolent. It's a right that you're afforded. You have a right in this nation to protest for rights. So what you were doing, we saw that. It was like, man, I mean, here's this guy, he gets young kids to get involved with something, and they believe in it, and they want everybody else to see that we can make a difference. So when I started doing my walks and join you guys, what I was trying to do is this. We in law enforcement cannot stop all this crime by ourselves. We can't. It'll be 31 years in July. And all the years before that, we never stopped it by ourselves. The only way we're going to stop it or reduce it, we've got to have a relationship with our community. If we actually get a relationship with our community, a concrete relationship, then the community will start trusting us. But most importantly, while you're trying to partnership, You got to understand the community. You got to understand the culture. You can't expect to go into a black community and say to them, hey, I'm going to help you with crime, but I need you to come out and tell me all these guys on the corner's name. Or I need you to tell me who's breaking in. Black people don't work like that. So you have to work within the parameters of their culture. White folks, they deal differently. Hispanics deal differently. Asian. So you have to understand the culture. Once you understand the culture and you accept what they can do for you, you need to go ahead and do your job. And then when you start getting in those communities like you do and start walking at ground zero and see how people live, you will respect them a whole lot more than you did. Then you will develop a relationship with them because they'll see the real in you. And once they see the real in you, then they'll start giving you a little something here and there. So that's when we realized that we were getting some stuff. That's why I created the See Something, Send Something program. And that program is our camera registration. So if you see something and you want us to know, nobody would know, you take a picture, videotape that thing, boom, send it to us, man. Man, that program is blowing up because we start to get out of our cars, walk in the streets, talking to individuals house by house, and things change. So yeah, people didn't like it, but Shakim, that you a God man like I am. And the Lord Jesus did all his work outside the church.
Right.
He didn't do it in the four walls. Everything he did was outside. So if he can do it and he is it, number one, uno numero, then I looked at that and said, well, hey, let me go out here and be fisher of men to try to help the community get involved with our crime reduction strategy so we can be together, not us and them. It's police and community against the people, a small percentage that's not doing right. That's what it is.
Right.
Yes.
So have you seen policing change over the years, like methods, styles of outreach? Like I know because you've been in law enforcement a long time. So how's the evolution of law enforcement? What's the trajectory? How's it like evolved over the years?
You're right, man. It's really changed a whole lot. When I came in here in '89, and I'm not like your traditional chief or sheriff. I came off the football field in college. Most chiefs and sheriffs, they didn't go to college like I did. They either had to pay or whatever. I went on football scholarship. I was there to play football but get my lesson. So my whole athletic mind was always learning how to evolve. I had to learn how to evolve on the football field and the track. You have to do that. So when I came here, I was thinking when I walked in the door, I want to be in the SWAT team. I said, if I get in the SWAT team, I can help save people more importantly than just really being reactive. I can get out there and get things done. So when I got in, I remember, man, when I got in, people asked this question. They said, Reggie, when you got in law enforcement, the African Americans that were in law enforcement with you, how much did they do? How much did they talk to you? How much did they mentor you? Well, they did. The small amount that we had, they did. But believe it or not, Kim, the folks that told me the right things and what not to do, and make sure I cover my backside. Most of them were white officers. They told me, listen, when you go in these neighborhoods, and I'm from here, but when you go in these neighborhoods as a police officer, you do not want to try to make people think that you're better than or you're looking down at them. So I was like, wow, and they said one of the things you do when you get in communities, talk to people. Talk to them, because when you come back again and you come around, now you can say, hey, Mr. Jones, hey, how you doing, whatever. Now you develop some kind of relationship. Now you really truly are, being a community police officer. So I saw that back then. But the big transition, if you want to ask me how things really transitioned, was really the Rodney King thing. It really did, because we were in our stages of once in a while getting out in the community doing things. But once the Rodney King thing happened, folks started to look at all the uniform as one. So when they started looking at all the uniform as one, the officers like me and some other officers who were commanded, we would go and call, and we were kind of treated a little unfairly. And so what we had to do, we had to weather the storm, keep pressing, keep trying to win the community over. So we saw that. It seemed like the whole community shut down on us, And even right now, the transition right now has a return from the Rodney King situation, where even some people that we know that we work with, we have to still go over there and win them over. We have to still talk to them. And in our county, Shakim, other than when Rodney King happened, people were angry, but then they weren't really angry at us. They was angry at cops. But now, because all of the things that have occurred and all the officer involved shootings, that have happened, and officers kill people for no reason. Now we have to really, 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 be very, very, very cautious on how we deal with individuals, because we can stop a regular call off a regular situation, and that person fail level sometimes have left them. They want to be confrontational themselves, because they're thinking, now we're mad. The police is mad with the community because the community is calling us out, and that's not the case. So that's why you have to always keep your head, like my mama says, when it go low, you stay high and say, hey, I'm not trying to cause you any problems. This is the reason why I stop you. So yeah, the transition when I first came in was you get to know people, and you run the neighborhoods. You know who's doing the wrong thing. Then when the Rodney King thing hit, boom, it was like we're back to ground zero. We got to build ourselves up, and then we got to do that. Well, in North Charleston, we had started putting a lot of good money in the community bank. We were depositing a lot of good. We were doing a whole lot. In 2015, and then it challenged our deposits, But we had relationships with people like you. We had relationships with, the NWCP leaders, National Network, the 100 men of Charleston. We had relationships with y'all enough that when we came to y'all and talked to y'all men to men, you guys were willing to listen to us and say, hey, we'll help y'all. We'll keep the peace here. And that's the thing. You got to, and that's the transition. You cannot wait until a crisis occurs to try to develop and build relationships. You have to do that ahead of time. You got to a long way before that, because when crises come, you can call on the individuals that you've developed relationships with.
Right. So I was reading today. I don't know if the article came out, but it was talking about in the Post and Courier about the training facilities. Like the only one I think y'all have is in Columbia, and a lot of some of the criticism was saying it'd be better if the local police departments would have more, I would say, control over how you can train versus them going to Columbia. Am I correct on that? Would it be more beneficial if you could train locally versus them going to Columbia? Is that kind of what it was implying?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, your phone is kind of breaking up. You might have to get
Can you
on
hear?
Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're breaking up too.
Okay, yeah, your phone.
I think. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you break. Can you hear me now? How about now, Shakim?
Okay.
How about now?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
You want to ask the question again?
Okay. Yeah, no, you talk about the academy, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. See, and I'm not trying to steal any time, but I had the academy situation for a long time. There's only two states in America that has a sole campus for law enforcement. That's New Hampshire and South Carolina. That means that everybody in the state of South Carolina goes to one academy. That's Columbia. That means that only one place in New Hampshire that people go to academy in New Hampshire is one place. Georgia, North Carolina, and Florida, which is our sister states, have at least 16 places that you can attend to get your certification. And the majority of those places are community colleges, universities, state colleges. Now, you're 100% right. We have over 16 technical schools throughout the state, strategically placed in the state. I actually went to Columbia and met with the training council and said to them, if we can actually get those technical schools to do the training, that would increase the capacity of how many people come and get into the academy, and then that also would give us real, college professors to teach the courses that would enhance the minds of law enforcement. Well, I presented that, and Dr. Thornley from Tech, she's 100% with. She sent her professors with me to present to them how it can be done. See, I'm like this, Shakim. If you take an officer like other states do, like North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida do, and you place them on a college campus, not only will they be going to their university settings for law enforcement, but they'll get to be around regular citizens. See what I'm saying?
Right.
And the only thing you need to do with them is send them to the academy to drive or, or do, they have a criminal domestic violence house. But you would have them in a area with their matriculation around regular civilians. As it is now, when they go to Columbia, they're around all police officers. So basically, they're thinking law enforcement only. But if you put them in a setting around regular citizens, they'll interact a whole lot while they're learning at that facility. And guess what? If when I hire somebody in North Charleston, Shaquille, when I hire them, I got to send them to Columbia to be trained. Well, they're learning everything that Columbia people really, really talking about. They're not going to be working in Columbia. I need them down here at Trident Tech so they can learn what the low country people are doing down here. So that was the thing I pitched to them. But, of course, it don't work out the way you want it to be, but be improved because we need that to be. And guess what? It's 12 weeks at the academy now. But if you go to the technical schools, we can take them up to probably like 18 to 19 to 20 weeks. Give them more of the education, teach them a whole lot more than they're getting right now, so they can be better. So, yes.
Yep. Right. Okay. So let's talk about blacks in law enforcement, because that's a topic that a lot of people always talk about. We know that we definitely need more black law enforcement. What are some of the roadblocks that you have with recruiting black officers, and like how can we encourage more blacks in law enforcement? And do you think it even make a difference?
Good question. One of the biggest issues with blacks in law enforcement is that because law enforcement has always been a negative, I would say, friend or partner to the black community always felt like law enforcement wasn't for it.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying we have to be better community police officers so that the community, especially the black community, can see that it's an honorable job. Now, take, for instance, my father, who's from Liberty, and he died in 2002. He served in the Army. He worked at the paper mill for 28 years. He has 3 boys. My father, now you can take, let's say you take black males from the age of 35 to 65 right now. You get 10 of them. You put them in a room. You put them on a ladder to take the test, and you ask them how many of them actually asked or try to coerce their sons or grandsons and go into law enforcement. I can guarantee you may get one. You may get one. Now, if you take the same criteria with white males, 35 to about 65, and you put them in a ladder to take the test and say, how many of you guys told your sons or grandsons it's an honorable job to be a cop? You'll get by 7 of them. 7 of them. See, we as African-American community, we don't want or don't even talk to our kids about being a cop. We think that's a dishonorable, job.
Right.
We think that's a harassing job. But you can't blame the community when the community is not getting the service that they expect from law enforcement. So that's the number one thing that we have to do as the African-American community. We got to bury that thing. So it's almost like I said, I don't, I grew up I'm from Union Heights, lived on Georgia Creek, and grew up on Liberty Hill. All the traditional black communities in the city of North Charleston. Love my neighborhoods. Right. But if we're going to really become a part of society, we have to be a part of the engine of society. And law enforcement is a part of the engine. So even though we, as a nationality, a culture, don't sometimes.
Looks like oh, you back.
Well,
your phone was breaking up.
Yeah. We need to look at. Yeah, I know, Mike. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we need to do better. Yeah, we need to do better. And the recruitment thing for me is this: I go to the historical black colleges. I go to military. I go to any technical school. I go wherever I know that the African Americans are, And when I get there, we recruit them. We tell them what kind of money they're making, what kind of benefit package, and let them know exactly how they can advance themselves. Now, you may not get that many, but guess what? You're going to get something. because somebody there will be like, well, I want to be.
You back?
Skip.
Yeah, your signal going in and out, Chief. I can hear you though.
You hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. My wife been calling me.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
Okay.
see, you have to be involved with this process. Cannot allow folks that you need to sit on the sideline and don't go, step up to them. You got to step up. If you want them, you got to go get them. You can't expect them just to come to City Hall. You got to go where they're at. That's how you recruit. But then when you get them, though, you've got to make sure you retain them by treating them fair, give them every opportunity everybody else have, and then while you're doing it, you nurture them to show them that they can elevate themselves. Look at me. Doing 89, and I went to be on the SWAT team, but the Lord blessed me to become the chief of police because I put in work there. I put in work for my city, and I got this blessing.
Right. So let's talk about the situation in Atlanta. With your experience, right? Because you can hear me?
Can't hear you at all.
You can hear me? Chief, you hit the mute button. Okay, you off now.
I can't hear you at all.
You can hear me?
Yeah, I can't hear you at all, brother.
Okay, it's back on? You can hear?
I can see you, but I can't hear you.
Ooh. You know what? You might
I'm not on mute. Nothing.
You can't hear me?
I can't hear you at all.
Go back out and then come back in. Okay. You can hear me now, Chief? Chief having some. Chief, you can hear me? Chief is having some difficulties.
No.
Let's see if he can go out and come back in. Let's see. You get Chief having some difficulties. Oh yeah, he's breaking up.
It keeps popping on now.
Can you hear now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Look like Chief having some.
Still can't hear you though.
So go out and then come back in. Can you go out and then come back in? You can't? Okay. So can you go out and then come back in?
Or come back in?
Yeah, go out and then come back in.
You want me to go out and come back in?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying it then.
Okay. All right. Chief is gonna be back. I had him go out and then come back in. Hopefully he get a signal. But Chief will be right back. But right now we're talking to him about blacks in law enforcement, and I want him to talk about the situation in Atlanta. Right now we have a lot of things going on, a lot of civil unrest. The case, I want to see how he sees it with the shooting, and was it justified or not? How does he feel the situation could have been handled better? Would he have encouraged something that would? Okay, all right. Looks like he is back. All right, you can hear us, Chief. You back?
All right. Yeah, I'm good. Yep, I can hear you now.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. So let's talk about the situation in Atlanta. Like, I know that's been like a very unfortunate situation, especially with the climate that's going on now. Where do you see any opportunities at on both sides? How do you think? They say hindsight is always 20/20, and officers, y'all have to make split-second decisions. Very split second.
Yeah.
So how do you feel that situation could have been either avoided or a better outcome, just from your experience?
Wow, man. You see, that situation is going to really be based on the policy and procedure of that department, and then how the state law is written when it comes to deadly force or any kind of threat level. Now, because he had the taser, that officer is going to say that he felt his life was in jeopardy, because if I got tased, then you could then once I get tased, you got me, and you can, do whatever you want to do to me. But on the other side of it, it's like, okay, he tased you. You had two officers there. You had already was trying to, handcuff him. You got two officers there. Should you have just, when he tased you, you try your best to avoid it and just wait until you were able to run him down and tell. That's another side of it. So the man is like, that's the same situation with that whole thing happened with Walter Scott. That's what Slager said to the chief priest when they got there. So we had no idea that else happened until we got the video. So we knew once we got the video that it was no deadly force used by Walter Scott, none at all. He was just running for his life with his hands wide open, no threat at all. So you can't articulate that and say, well, I felt like my life was in jeopardy once we got the video. That situation in Georgia, it's going to all go on what the policy and procedure of that police department, and then all that with state law when it comes to, a person defending themselves, feel their life was, and that's all I can say about it. It's going to come to that because, see, like I said earlier, since we got that, we met with legals, met with our training division, and we, our situation, our level. We have 6 matrix. The first situation, how we do when we're trying to, work within the confines of law. Our first way of actually with individuals verbal, talk to the individual, and then if the conversation is not going well, once you told the individual that he or she's under arrest, then what you do is, if they don't want to turn around and put their hand in the back, then you use empty hands. You grab the arm, say, hey, turn around. Then if it resists, it goes up. So it goes up to up to force matrix. Now, when you're talking about getting to deadly threat, that's the last matrix. That's 6. So, but you have to meet, those matrix when it's a regular conversation like it was with that guy. So that's what's going to tell Shakim what the policy said versus what the guy did, and then what the state law said about a person who was threatened. And that's not only a cop, that's a regular civilian too. If it was civilian versus civilian, that's why you had the castle doctor. You have people that we charge with when they kill somebody, it's not considered a homicide. It's called a justifiable homicide. If a person have a weapon and they're threatening you, and the state law says, you can defend yourself, that's the Constitution. If you can prove that point, then you would, and die because of it. It's the castle doctrine. Yeah.
Right. So, being in the city all of our lives, right? We've seen, you've seen plenty protests, you've seen rallies, you've seen it all. We've all seen it all. Why do you think this last incident made Charleston go into a riot? Like normally everything is kind of like peaceful. Like, what do you think actually changed this time or what do you think was present now that made a bunch of people just go out and start rioting versus every other time is normally peaceful?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. What I saw in the Charleston situation was, of course, at first it was peaceful because I had actually spoke to Councilman Jerome Haywood and Councilman Brown. They had just got down there, and I conversated with Chief Reynolds too. But what I saw there was, to be honest with you, I saw the folks down there the first time I ever seen it, where people weren't going to be, how you said, talked, and it was going to be like, okay, it would work out. The folks down there want to make a stand. They want to make their presence known that, listen, we're tired of it. And the majority of people down there were Caucasians. And they themselves said, we're tired of, law enforcement or any entity, abusing, the rights of people of color. So I just felt that in their minds down there, they had already made up their mind that if anything happened, and the cause, they need to be dedicated to the cause. And that's what you saw. You saw people who don't even know each other that well. People who don't even live in the same neighborhoods.
Right.
People don't even socialize in the same church. Said that we were fed up, and we're going to stand here to make our presence known. And of course, I don't agree with the looting.
Oh yeah, we know.
I don't agree with the violence. But sometimes it's happened. But those folks were standing. They stood. They really did. Really did.
Right. Okay. So another thing. Let's talk about how, as far as leadership, local leadership. I mean, several years, man, we've had like crime. I remember one year, I don't know if I can't exactly what year, but the shootings were like at an all-time high in the city of North Charleston. What was your plan in order to bring things down, to kind of, manage the situation? Like, what's going on inside your mind when you see the numbers spiking? What is it that you do? What kind of, actionable items do you take in order to say, okay, guys, let's get this all under control?
Well, main thing is emulate what you've been doing for many years. Going to the community, going to community meetings, talk to the folks out in their yards, being a presence, but being a presence that's positive, yeah, and rough houses, not going and steer people, not going in there to be you want to help to solve the problem. So what I do, I think about it every day. It hurts me. I went to a wake on, I believe it was yesterday, I believe, and no, it was the day before, and I went to Hollywood. The Myers kid that got killed at the North Park Grill. Well, I know his family, but I didn't go there because I knew his family. I went there because I go and I greet all victims of homicide's parents. Ever since I've been I go there, I spend quality time with them. I pray with them. They pray with me sometimes. So I feel it. My nephew got killed in 2010, right outside the house. So I experienced, and I can relate to what people are feeling. And my nephew's homicide, which happened in my city, we haven't solved yet. So not only did my family hurting that my nephew got killed, he was my oldest nephew, I know how it is to not have closure to the case. And it's my city, it's my department. So what I do is we try to get in there and try to be a part of the community. To when folks, when beefs is coming, you try to hear it from the streets, and then you try our retaliation protocol. Because see, if you have one shooting in our community, as I said earlier, Shakim, you know this, our culture is different when it comes to revenge. Right. If you sit back and think that African Americans won't go get back at you, you got some problems, So what we do, we have a retaliation protocol. What we do, we speak to the family of the victim, speak to the mothers, brothers, cousins, all of them, and advise them of where we at in the investigation. Keep them, apprised about it. Let them know everything we can tell them. Those old days of law enforcement where we keep everything ourselves, that don't work, because that's not going to stop the next homicide. So we do that with our retaliation incident reduction protocol. We let them know, and then we have people to meet with them, the victim advocates, the chaplains. We call their deacons, we call their ministers, we call their family members to get them to pray, to keep their minds off the routine. While we're doing that, our investigators are finding leads, and they're tracking. We get a name. Once we get a name, we get a warrant. Once we get a warrant, we make an arrest. And when we go to the family, we tell them we've arrested that individual. You can see how the family feel at ease, because if you don't do that, you're going to have another homicide. So that's some of the things that we do. Also, on the other part of it, try to stop these things from happening, we have to strategically be in those areas. If you know that you had a couple of shootings in the neighborhood, then you ignore it. You're going to get another one, because there's a beef going on. There's a squabble going on. And if you ignore that, then it's going to be a homicide next. I don't have time to ignore that. I've got to be in those neighborhoods. We've got to have our marker lights on. We've got to take our neighborhood resource officers, walk in those streets for recap, to talk to the people. And the more we're in the neighborhoods, the less that the people who are trying to hurt somebody are going to be in the neighborhoods as well. always working in the community, man. It's one house at a time, and that's what we do.
Right, right. So another question I wanna talk to you about is, okay. So on the heels of retaliation, because you said a lot of the shootings are retaliation, right? Retaliatory in nature. So
Yep.
when these things occur, right? Like how, I mean, like how can, like, us as a community, right? Because we have to work hand in hand. That's what I see. We got to work hand in hand. How do people like me and other people out in the community hold our community accountable for the crimes that go on, and say, listen, our people, because a lot of people are fed up. When we go into the community and we talk, a lot of black people are fed up. And I hear a lot of people say, well, black people aren't fed up about crime. Yes, they are. And this. That a lot of people are
Yeah,
fed up.
yeah,
So,
you are.
yeah, so how do we, as people in the community, regular citizens, hold our people accountable for the crime that goes on? Like, what's our role?
Well, one of the things special in our community, African American community, is that it's almost like this. The enemy of yours can be the enemy of mine.
Mhm.
So if you're living in that community, most often, and it may not be 100%, but I can guarantee 90% of the crime that occurs in your community, the police is not committing those crimes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So the first thing you got to realize, the police ain't breaking in your house. The police is not stealing your cars. The police is not doing drive-bys. The police is not fighting your kids, and they're not trying to kill your kids like that. We have situations, but we're not on an everyday basis doing that. Our community need to realize and recognize that the people that they need to work with, even if they have a relationship with us, but the law enforcement is that entity that feels the same way the people who in the community feel. We're tired and we're fed up. We know that the community's tired and fed up. So yeah, we may not go to lunch. We may not break bread. We may not go hang out and drink a Coke or whatever together. But when it comes to keeping peaceful neighborhoods, you've got to work together. So, like you said, that's the first thing. The community has to say, well, listen, I may not care for the police department that much, but and this is one thing that I said years ago, said, I may not want police, but I need police. See what I'm saying?
Right.
So there's a need for us. So if you know that you want to live in a peaceful neighborhood, which you deserve to live in a peaceful neighborhood, then work along with the police to keep that neighborhood safe. And one of the ways is this: black people, my people, we've got to stop putting our heads in the sand. We got to stop putting our heads in the sand. Stop putting our heads down there and act like these things don't have anything to do with me. If one house got up and you live in house 2, I live in house 1, and a person live in house 3. If your house gets shut up in 2, it doesn't matter if yours get. If we allow it to happen, it's gonna happen to 1 and 3 and the rest of them. If we allow it, and the thing about it, we can do a whole lot. But individually, we can't. But when we put that fist together, we can do a lot when we come together. So we need to come together, law enforcement and the community, and said, hey, this is what we need to do. We meet every monthly in communities. We bring all the crimes that occur in that community. The community can see all the crimes that happen in a 2-week period. Look at those crimes. Be a part of it. Say, listen. And we're getting that right now, Shakim. People say, oh, I remember a van was parked down there, and said, yeah, the house got burglarized. And they said, oh, I got it on the video because it parked in my house. And we look at the video, got the tag off it, ran the people down, you locked them up. Now, see, police in the community, we can create safe neighborhoods, but we got to work together. So you're right, Shakim. The community, if they want to live safe and peaceful, they have to work with the entity that's going to help them to do that. We can't do by ourselves, but if we work together, realistically, and with open hearts and open minds, man, we'll create safe neighborhoods all day long. And I mean, we want to hear birds chirp. You know what I'm saying? We want to see the kids in the street. I grew up playing football and basketball and baseball in the street. Kids can't even in the streets now. And it ain't because driving down the road shooting at nobody. It ain't because the police is robbing and drive-by. It ain't us. It's the individual, small percentage of people who don't care about living peacefully. Yes.
Right. All right, so question. So a lot of times, a lot of people now are talking about, oh man, the police don't need these big armored vehicles and, the demilitarization of the police. Like, so, I mean, do y'all need those? Like, what are those vehicles really used for? Like, I mean, I don't know. If I see one, I know I'm in the wrong place. But like, what, like, yeah, I see one of them, I'm gone. So what is it? Do you really need them? What are they good for? What are they used for? Because a lot of people are saying, we need to just demilitarize the police.
Yeah. Well, if you remember Sandy Hook, you remember Columbine, those all the school shootings, we got those vehicles help us to get to the school because we got the most schools in the county. We got the most kids in Charleston County come out of North Charleston schools. So we've got 35 school resource officers in schools, elementary, middle, high. We do not want school shootings. We do active shooting training all the time. But one thing we learned from the agencies that protected their children, they had vehicles that could get to the front door and help stop the bullets from the suspects and extract the children out of the schools. That was the main reason why we got them, and we only have two. So then we actually went out and got some high power rifles. Why? Because when we go to crime scenes, we see AR-15 rounds, we see all kind of AK-47 rounds. So in other words, how are we going to protect the citizens if we can't meet the ammunition that the suspects are using? We can't meet that. We can't do anything to stop them. So your police department needs to have the same equipment that the bad guys have, but most of all have better equipment than them. So we did that for that reason. Then one of the biggest things that I realized worked with me and Mayor Summy went, and that was 2017. We went over to when they had the big flood of Pep. So we went out there all night long when it was raining and everything. So I was cruising all night long. And we know where all our flood zones at. One of them is on Joppa, right there on the hike where I'm from. One's on Pepper Hill. There's a couple of them right on as you're going toward the hike by OGX, all that flood. So we have a lot of people live on Joppa. A lot of people live in Pepper Hill. So how do we get them out? We get those vehicles that we have because they're high and off the ground, and we can get them there and extract people out of homes that the water level is always halfway. So these vehicles and our weapons are only used in a proactive way. I mean, a reactive way. They never we don't never ride around. You don't ever see them vehicles riding around Rose Avenue and this all day. Whenever you see them vehicles, the stuff hit the fan, and we need to get there to save our citizens. Yeah, that's all. You never get it. So you never gonna have me get it because I didn't go in the military. I went to college. My brother went in the military, so I don't really know too much thing. I got them for the school shootings to be able to get the kids out. We got them for the evacuation of the natural disasters, and then we also use our SWAT team because if our SWAT team is called, that means everything. The police can't do it anymore. You need the special weapons and tactics guys. So send them in there so they can get there without being shot at before they get to the place to rescue somebody. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's what we did. That's why we ordered those.
Okay. So quick question. There's a good debate now going on about no-knock raids after the Breonna Taylor incident. I hear a lot of people, especially, in law enforcement, said that, no-knock raids sometimes save our lives. I mean, because you never know the extent of danger that you're going against. Then you have some who say, well, it's putting people's lives in danger because you don't know, who's on the other side and you just hear your door kicked in. What's your thoughts on no-knock raids? Do you think they're useful or we need to do away with them?
I ran the speed team from 1996 to 98. I ran the whole narcotics section from 1999 to 2007. So I've been in the drugs and vice, all the stuff for half of my career. I worked with the feds. I worked with the state. I worked with even the Mexican federal rallies. Now, the thing about it, when you do any kind of drug enforcement, that world is different than regular worlds. It's different. The drug guys think differently. They move differently, and the head is always on the swivel. So whenever we do drug warrants in the city of North Charleston, we don't do no knocks. We've always did announce and knocks. We always North Charleston Police Department, bam, 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 bam. North Charleston Police Department, bam, 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 and then we'll go in. We do announce and knocks. We don't do no knocks and nothing like that. We want folks to know that the police are outside. So whatever agency does that, that's in our policy and procedure manual, we'll never do that. And I just like you said, yeah, some folks can say it's best to get in there and get the job done. But at the end of the day, what are we trying to do, enforcement officers? Go home.
Right.
See what I'm saying? We're trying to get home. So if I can lessen my, the opportunity for somebody to hurt, then I will. Yeah, I will tell there, and I want to make the rest. But I got to think about, my safety as well. So we don't do no knocks. We do announce and knocks. Yeah, we announce and we knock. Announce and then we knock. And then if we have to, most people will come to the door. But if we have to, all those steps are followed, and then we go in. Yeah.
Okay. So, in conclusion, where do you see everything going, right? Because we're looking at the state of our country. We see a lot of, emotions running high. You see, the President Trump, he's signing executive orders talking about, creating national databases. You see Tim Scott, a brother of ours here locally in North Charleston. He's, pushing legislation about police reform. You have the Democrats there. Everybody's talking about police reform and, trying to, I guess, streamline the process to make it more efficient. Where do you see things going from here? What do you think would be some of the solutions? And like, what's your vision in North Charleston for the next 5, 10, 15 years as far as policing is concerned?
Well, I believe what is going on in this nation right now, if you look at the civil rights movement, it began with Rosa Parks in the late 50s. And Martin Luther King was assassinated in 68. The rights movement was from the 50s all the way almost to the 70s. Really, it was. So it took a while. A lot of laws were enacted. A lot of good things happened. Some people died. We had the transition. So what I see right now is the country itself, not only our country, but the world. People are recognizing that Black Lives Matter too. They do. They're recognizing that. So what I'm seeing is that folks who are the leaders in our country, may it be from the top, the Congress, even the local, they're realizing that we need to look at what is being said out there from the protest and from the people just on social net, or from people just coming to City Hall. People are saying we need to be better. We need to be better. Things need to change. When the Civil War ended in 1865, there was a word called Reconstruction. Reconstruction was brought there for one reason, because before that, all the citizens in the United States were Caucasian. No blacks were considered citizens. So when you go to a Reconstruction age, that means you have to look at what's on the books, get rid of those things that are stereotypical, and start opening up for everybody. Housing, jobs, land purchase, everything had to change. So you had to reconstruct your whole constitution and reconstruct your whole state government as well. Well, I think that's what's going on now. The president got with, Tim Scott. Tim Scott jumped out on it. And some people say, well, it's not enough, or it could be stronger. What I like about it is he's trying to do something. Right. He's trying to do something. And it's not sitting back saying, okay, we'll work on it. We'll look into it. Or maybe we'll call some people together and then we'll see what they say. He jumped in and said, listen, let's start writing down things. And go down, inside of things. I mean, it's just like, it's common sense. I mean, creating a national use of force database, the Breonna Taylor Act. hits, no knock warrants. I mean, things that if you look at agencies like ours accredited by CALEA, we have those things in place. Body worn cameras. We ordered our first body worn cameras in 2000. They arrived after the Walter shooting, but we were wearing body worn cameras since 15. So you look at the the lynching statute. Every state in the nation should have something in about lynching. That's ridiculous to think that you can lynching folks. And a lot of things in this packet, to me, is a good start. Now you can look at all 100 of them and say, okay, this is too broad. We need to narrow it. Or you can say this is too narrow. We need to broaden it. But you have something. You have a working paper now. You have a working paper that all law enforcement officials throughout the nation can glean it and say, we want to put more into it. It need to be more tightened, or we need to loosen things up. But you have something on the table now. See, before, folks is talking. At least, Senator Tim Scott is acting. You know what I'm saying? He's showing action. And I think that's a good thing that he did. Yes.
Right, man. That's wonderful, Chief. So the last thing, like I said, your vision for the city of North Charleston. Where do you what's your like overall plan? You as somebody in the comments said, are you running for mayor after Summer Summer retires? So
Say it again. Say it again. I hear that.
yeah.
Say it again. I
No,
didn't hear that.
somebody said after Summer retires, are you running for mayor?
Me?
Yeah,
Oh man. Hey, I'm a cop, man. I'm a cop.
yeah,
I'm a cop, man. I'm a cop. Um, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I say that, man, Shakim. I want to keep doing the things that you're doing, man. That's my vision. My vision is I want to keep forging relationships with people like you, and people that you associate with, and because I know, see, I see you, Shakim, when people don't see you. I see you when a person walk up to your quarters on Whipper Barony, and folks have a look in their face like they're embarrassed to come there, and you look at them like, hey, come on, you need some stuff. Come in here. Let me show you some stuff in here. You make them feel the way they need to feel because you say to them, listen, you don't have to be embarrassed. We all have hard times. See, that's what I want to do. You know, our model of community policing is relationship policing. That's what I call it, relationship policing. Develop a relationship while you police. That's what I want to do. Man, I've locked up people for many, many years. I've actually changed people's lives, and most of them for the better. You can find any charge to lock somebody up. That's the easiest thing to do. The hardest job to do as a law enforcement officer is to help that citizen keep their civil rights. Talk with them and say, listen, you're already on the cusp of going to jail. You automatically almost kind of give up your rights, but I don't want to take you to jail. Let's talk this thing out, work through this thing so you can go on with your life and learn from this. That's what I want. The people that need to go to the jail, you and I can't help that. They just don't want to listen. They're gonna do what they want to do, and that's the place for them. But the majority of people that commit crimes or even get close to committing crimes, man, I want to be able to talk them off the ledge. You know what I'm saying? I want to be able to come off that fence and say, look at it. You're about to throw your life away. We can do it better, but let's talk about it. And I can give you some advice. And not only that, I can take you places to people that can help you. See, what you and Ms. Lewis have is a blessing. Man, people talk about what y'all do all over the place, man. He's like, man, we need to set something like them guys got. And I said, well, y'all don't. I said, go to those guys. Talk to Shakim. Talk to Smith. They'll show you what to do to be creating something, and it goes to waste, and it's gonna give a black eye to the food banks initiative. Go to the guys who do. Talk to Shakim. Talk to Mr. Lewis Smith. They'll show you how to get it done. So that's what I want to do, Shakim. That's my mission or my dream is that we continue to work with continue to be a friend, continue to be ears, and then talk when we need to talk. But really understand what the citizens of North Charleston are dealing with at every house. See, Shakim, to have a state, you have to have a city or town or a county. To have a city or town, you have to have neighborhoods. But the most important thing in the neighborhoods is their home. It starts in the house. If we can help people in that one house, it's going to help that street. It's going to help that neighborhood. It's going to help the city. It's going to help that state. That's what we have to do. That's my dream, to help the community, to get in the community and help them and make it better for them and show them, listen, boy, I come from the same neighborhood. My mama, listen, Mr. Kim, in 68, my brother was born. I was born in 65. I was 3 years old. When I turned 4 years old in 69, between 69 and 70, I remember my mom would come home, and I'll get a little emotional when I talk about this, but my mom would come home with a white band in her arm. We were living on Georgia Green. And I always saw that band in her arm like every other week. Mom worked 3 jobs. She went to Mount Pleasant and cleaned up for a doctor. She worked at a restaurant called Southern Trucking in the Howell House. She got 2 boys in the 60s, early 70s. She raised by herself. And I always saw that. So I asked my mother a couple of years ago, I said, Mama, when you used to work at a restaurant, you burnt your arm a lot? She said, why you ask? I said, because you used to have a white band on your arm back then. My mother told me this, Shakim. She said, I would do anything that I have to do to take care of my kids. I would go to the blood bank and give blood every other week to get $5 to take care of my kids. My mother raised all 3 of her boys in North Charleston, Shakim, right in the same neighborhoods that some of our homeboys she raised. She raised us and taught us that we can be something, and we're going to be something. She didn't care what nobody said. So I've got to give back like my mother and the community gave to me. And that's what I'm about, giving back to my community. I get down for my city. I love my city. And no other city in this nation I love more than North. And that's what I'll continue to do.
Right,
Yep.
right. Yes, sir. Papa Smurf, we're going to end with Papa Smurf question. Papa Smurf said, how can we get...
That's my man in there.
Yes, sir. Papa Smurf. All right, let's get Smurf question. Yes. He said, how can we gain the respect and trust of the other community when we allow opportunists to speak on our behalf? We are being sold out from within. Do you see a problem with leadership anywhere? and like, do you see there's maybe like kinks and look at Chief say, "Ooh," but I mean, do we have a leadership problem? Like,
hey, Smurf will do that now. Smurf gonna tell like it is now. Yes, well, I'll say this right here. In the biblical times, the Lord always sent people to do things to get people to safety and help people. So I figured this much right here. You are ordained by God. Smurf is ordained by God, and I hopefully am, because He told us what to do, and we're out doing it. Now, the ones who the Lord didn't choose, they seem like they pop up once in a while, and they want to sell something, but they don't have sustainability. You, me, and Smurf have sustainability because ours is coming from the heart. So being the oldest out of y'all too, I'll say this right here. Don't even worry about it. You keep doing what you do and let the Lord deal with the rest of it.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, Chief, man, I appreciate it. You've been on here, man. We had a lot of viewers tonight. Man, everybody wanted to tune in to see, get your insight. We love what you do, man. The city is behind you. I know all the community leaders, man, we behind you. And I think, me personally, you are, a saving grace for the city of North Charleston. Everybody can relate to you. You from here. And I think this really gives us a good advantage here in the city, because even if we do have problems, we're still able to reach out and talk to you. Accessibility is key and critical. Your officers, man, always willing to help. I mean, I have never, in all my life living in North Charleston, I have never seen this much camaraderie and with police and community in the city. And I've been in this city all my life. I have never seen the level that is on now. I think all of y'all are doing a good job. Of course, we always have our ups and downs. We're not in a perfect world, but like you said, it's how you resolve the issue. And I think everything has been going wonderful. So I appreciate you for coming on, Chief. Thanks again, my brother, and we will
Thank
meet
you, man.
very soon.
Hey, God bless you, man. You doing a great job. Keep up the good work.
Yes, sir. All right, Chief. You take care, brother.